And good evening and welcome back to another episode of What's So Funny. I am your host and your engineer Guy. Call me Guy McPherson, Guy Manhattan. Steve Bays gave me that name this week. Our guest this week wanted to be a dinosaur when he was a kid.
That's correct.
That's what it says on his Juno Award-winning album, I Wanted to Be a Dinosaur. It's stand-up comic Ivan Decker.
Oh, hello. Thank you for having me back. Great song. Never heard it before. Of course, they closed with T-Rex, which I think is a very funny dinosaur because it's the only one with an abbreviated name. Like no other dinosaur. There's no, like, Ceratops. Nobody's doing that. I mean, you obviously wouldn't abbreviate try, but Tyrannosaurus Rex is like, just say the whole thing. Every other dinosaur is the whole name.
There's got to be one. B-tosaurus?
V-raptor?
Yeah.
I don't know. This is a fun little dinosaur fact that I like to tell people. It's my favorite one. It's about just kind of an example of the time the dinosaurs existed. If you look at a scale of time, Tyrannosaurus Rex is actually further away from ever seeing a Stegosaurus than it is to us. So on a time scale,
really,
Stegosaurus is so old, it's further from...
How old is it?
I believe... Now, this is where you're going to catch me because I don't really know the Triassic, Cretaceous, Paleolithic, all the eras, the era names. If you want to look it up, check your local library or your phone. But that's kind of the neat thing. Like the sauropods like Brontosaurus were so long ago. They were like a whole different era than T-Rex. T-Rex is 35 million. And I believe that Stegosaurus and Brontosaurus and stuff was like in the 125 to 200 million years ago.
Wow.
So they're further away. T-Rex is closer to this radio broadcast than a Stegosaurus.
Welcome to Dinosaur Talk here on Co-op Radio with our guest Ivan Decker. When I did the How Old Is It, that was a Johnny Carson, it's an old comedy thing.
Oh, yeah,
and you were
course.
supposed to come up with a funny answer. And
yeah,
you just said, well, I don't actually know.
I bailed. Hey,
Come on, Ivan.
Cue me again. I'll do it. I don't know. It's so old it remembers Johnny Carson references.
There you go. Boom. Do you remember? Did you ever see Johnny Carson?
Not live. I've seen tape.
Like not live on TV the night that it was performing.
The first...
I saw him live both ways.
Really? You went to a
taping?
Oh,
yeah.
my goodness.
Yeah.
At Radio City Music Hall.
In beautiful downtown Burbank. That was the reference I gave you when we were messaging the other day.
Yeah.
And they stole that from Laugh-In, they didn't steal it. They were happy with it. But
beautiful downtown Burbank. So he was California. See, I didn't even know this. I assumed he was...
He started in New York, moved to California in Burbank in 71 or 2.
Okay.
I think all the years I watched it was California.
Beautiful downtown Burbank.
Yeah.
And then it went back to Radio City Music? Or that's where Letterman was.
Yeah, Letterman went to New York. I think...
Or not Radio City Music. I don't know why I keep
Jimmy
saying
Fallon took it back to New York.
Yeah, it's in at 30 Rock.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
I don't know. I didn't go to those.
The first late night show I saw was Conan.
When you were on it?
No, when I was a teenager, but yeah.
Oh, not a taping.
Not a tape, but yeah, the first taping I saw was the one I was on.
Yeah. I was in line for Conan in New York. I just missed the cut. Didn't get in.
Too bad.
Yeah. The first talk show, well, Conan was on late. Or did you see him when he was on at 11:30?
No, I watched the Midnight Conan. That was the fun, weird one. Because, I don't know, people in my high school were like, don't watch the one before. It's all actors you've never heard of. But this Conan guy's really weird. We should watch him. And so we did. And he had all the hilarious, Walker, Texas Ranger lever and the pizza ghost.
So he'd been at it for a year or so.
Yeah. Oh,
right,
yeah.
Because at the beginning, he was just atrocious. He was horrible.
Yeah, I've heard. I mean, his first episode is online now because they're kind of uploading you can watch the whole catalog because he's been around.
Oh, yeah.
And I watched episode 1 of the Conan. He actually did a very funny opening where it's like him walking down the street and literally everybody he talks to is like, a lot of pressure. Don't screw it up.
I remember that, yeah.
I thought that was a funny sketch. I also didn't know that Andy Richter had been there since the beginning.
Yeah.
Because he left
because his star was rising and then his star set. Yeah. And he came back.
Well, I don't know if it's set. He's his own man.
I think he would admit that.
Maybe.
Yeah, he had his own sitcom, and he had
I remember
his own show.
Andy Richter versus the Universe.
Yeah.
I never watched an episode. It was a lot harder to track shows back in the day.
It was?
Well, I don't know. It was like if I had something going on that night, I'd be like, well, I guess I'm not watching that show. Now you can just be like, have you seen BoJack Horseman? It's on Netflix. Watch it whenever. And then everybody does.
That's true, but you're not watching it within the same time period. Somebody could have binge watched all of them at once.
That's what everybody does, yeah.
Yeah, and then somebody else gets to them whenever.
Yeah.
It's like podcasts.
Yeah.
I just go through and go, oh, here's one from 3 years ago. It doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, it doesn't. Well, that's the thing that's so neat now is like everybody's on a different time scale with everything. So the only thing people can talk about live is like The Bachelor or like,
that's true.
These other shows that don't. And now they've started rerunning like old reality show and they're advertising like relive your favorite Jersey Shore moments. And everybody's like, why? I do not need. Because I think a lot of the reason why people like The Bachelor is because it's one of the only things other than sports that you can have these like, did you see last night? What do you think Cassie's going to do? I don't know.
Right. Saturday Night Live's kind of getting back to being like that.
Yeah, absolutely. SNL's great. But I think even that is like, I guess all these shows you can still record them on your device at home, your PVR or whatever it is, and then watch it later.
That's right. I was going through my shows, my PVR, I don't know what you call them, the saved ones. You forget to delete them, but I purposely have saved your Conan appearance.
So nice.
It's still there.
Because it's the only one, you have to watch the DVR episode if you want to see him introduce me. Because the online, all the videos they post online, they don't show him saying your name. So if you actually want to see the whole, this guy, I have a Decker, and then hear the band.
So we talked about that because you come by every time you got something big happening, and you were always having something big happening. You were here 10 months ago. We talked about your Juno Award-winning album. And what else did we talk about? The Netflix thing?
We talked about Conan. We talked about how the Netflix thing was coming up. I have now taped it.
You've taped it. Yeah. And this is a half hour?
Yeah.
Wow.
30 minutes.
Because aren't they doing like 100 of them?
They're doing 42, but only
42.
8 are in English. So the whole idea was to reach a more international market in the stand-up world, so they're not oversaturated with Americans, I believe.
Oh.
And so
this isn't for English-speaking countries.
There's 8 from North America that are speaking English. There's also 4 from Quebec that are in French. Mm-hmm. Then there's 4 British, and I think maybe 4 Australian. So maybe there's...
So they speak a form of English.
Yeah, they're kind of in English. English people. But then there's like a bunch in Arabic and Spanish, and they had some people from South Africa who I think may have been in French or English. But it was a pretty neat thing to be a part of because it's this neat package that they're going to then send to a bunch of countries and subtitle in whatever that country is in. So you can see, I don't know if my comedy will translate into Arabic with subtitles, but we'll see. Somebody in the Middle East could watch me yell about oatmeal.
And will we get to see the Arabic comics with English subtitles?
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So
I wonder how that'll translate, too.
Yeah, I don't know. It's kind of interesting. Because I watched Gad Elmaleh has a French...
Oh, does he have a French one?
He has a French one on there with English
subtitles. I thought he
subtitles.
never performed in French.
No, apparently he did. And then...
how did that work?
I think it's good. I don't know. It's interesting to watch because it's like I get that it's funny. He's very physical, so that's what makes it funny. But it's pretty interesting to watch stand-up with subtitles. Obviously, I enjoy him a lot better when he's speaking English.
Yeah, and that was the news from this week for Ivan Decker. It was announced that you, Canada's Jerry Seinfeld, will be opening for France's Jerry Seinfeld, Gad Elmaleh.
Oh, I don't know if I can be assigned that title.
Oh, I think you can, more so than Gad Elmaleh. See, the reason why he has that title, I don't see any similarity between him and Seinfeld. They say in all the publicity for it, excuse me, is that he is the most popular comedian in France, and that's why he's France's Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah.
Now, for you, obviously not yet Canada's most popular comedian, but getting there. But stylistically more like Jerry Seinfeld, I'd say.
Yeah, I guess. Gad is also he's kind of similar. He's observational. And
well, I mean, just the presentation, too. He's more, he uses his hands a lot more, and he's more European.
Yeah, he's definitely from Europe. He is quite funny, though. I do really enjoy watching him, and he's a super fun dude.
He's funny in interviews, too.
Yeah, and he's so, we actually met last year. I opened for him here as well, and he's just such a cool comedian because he immediately was just like, oh, let's just talk about comedy then. Like, he just wants to riff and talk about jokes, which is all I want to do.
Yeah,
analyze,
and that's perhaps a function of him moving to the U.S. I'm losing my voice here. It's very emotional for me. And re-establishing himself through comedy, because he's a multimillionaire. He's a movie star in France. And
so it's definitely
he doesn't need to sit around and riff with comics, but he does because now he's being funny in this new language.
Yeah, it's pretty cool to see. I mean, the undertaking was so amazing, too, because he had to come over to North America, learn English. He didn't know it at all.
He must have known some.
Knew a bit, but not a lot. And he brought an English teacher with him who would watch the shows and kind of go over it with him and say this was you emphasize this word wrong, because leading up to his Netflix special, of course, he wanted to make sure everything was in the right place. And so it was pretty interesting and sort of cool to see that undertaking is just so admirable. I only imagine how hard it would be for me to go to France, try to learn French, do comedy.
Do it for a year, see how it goes.
Yeah, I'll go to Japan and learn comedy
but
there.
Here's the thing: so he was this rich movie star. He could hire an English teacher to just follow him around and translate.
Yes, there are, I believe, advantages to having already achieved success in one country.
Yeah. So you opened for him last year, and did you hang out and talk?
Yeah. We hung out a little bit afterwards. It was really cool. He's a good dude.
And did he have anything to do with you opening for him, or is this out of his hands? They just say, hey, let's get Ivan.
It was just for laughs the first time who kind of selected me, because they're kind of the ones, they put on a lot of the shows that they bring headliners through. So they were the ones responsible for me opening for Jim Gaffigan when he was here a little while ago, and people like that. But then I think this time around, Gad asked for me specifically because
that is great.
Yeah, we're going to do a kind of a West Coast. So we do here in Vancouver, and then we go down Portland, San Francisco, LA.
Great. Well, I'm talking to him later this week.
Oh, cool.
And I will verify that story with him.
Yeah, see what he says about me.
He'll say who?
He'll be like,
Who's
this guy? Oh, no, they just said to get I said some guy from Vancouver. I don't know.
No, but I mean, you've opened for a ton of really well-known comedians, and it's a little galling for me because some of these people you should be headlining.
Well, that's very kind. I don't know about that. I didn't fill the theater.
I guess that's it, right? Just the name recognition, and that takes time. And
yeah. I've done a couple of shows. I sold my first ticketed show where it's you buy tickets for me, not the club or whatever, in Victoria, and it was very fun.
Oh, where was that?
It was at they built a new casino over there, and so the casino hired me shortly after I won the Juno Award. They kind of went on the back of that, and they were like, "Come on in, we'll advertise you." And it was actually
great. Who opened for you?
I brought May Scaloni.
John
with
Mulaney.
Me. Yeah,
John Mulaney.
I brought May Scaloni and a local Victoria guy who I like, Henoch Moresa.
Oh, I don't know him.
Yeah, he's very funny. He kind of stays over. He comes over here quite a bit. He's a big comedy fan. Really funny dude.
So that's great. Where's this casino in my old hometown?
Oh, I think it's pretty new. ish. It's like I don't even know what the parts of Victoria. It's like up and to the left of downtown.
Up and to the left, back
north
to
and
the left.
West. Those are the.
You know
that's
what
you're supposed to say on a map, right?
That is. But growing up in Victoria, and still to this day, I don't know north, south, east, west. In Vancouver, I just look over there. Oh, there are the mountains. That's north.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a grid. In
Exactly.
Victoria, I couldn't tell you where I lived in relation to the.
Every time I go to Ontario, I get so upset because there's no mountains. There's nothing on the horizon in any direction.
Yeah, you're supposed to carry around a compass?
Where I'm facing. I guess you're supposed to use the CN Tower, but I don't know if you can see that from everywhere. Maybe that's why they built it, to be like, all right, this is something to see instead of just lake.
I'm going to try to get that going. You're the Jerry Seinfeld of Canada. Because, Richard Lett was always called the George Carlin of Canada.
Canada's George Carlin.
Or Canada's George Carlin.
Yeah.
He was always called that. Not really.
By me when I opened for him, and he told me to do it.
He told you to say it, right. And I don't see a stylistic similarity there at all. No disrespect to Richard. I just don't see the connection. I do, though, with you and your hero, Jerry Seinfeld. And as I said in the What's So Funny blog, now available on the internet.
Oh.
Is
it's on computers now, I've heard.
Yeah. It's your commitment to the craft of writing jokes and observing and stylistically, the way you present them.
Yeah, I think I have a lot of similarities to Jerry Seinfeld, I think, because I used his documentary Comedian as my textbook into comedy, because there isn't really a lot of resources. I mean, or maybe there is now, but there wasn't at the time that I started for how to do stand-up comedy. What do you do? And so I just looked at Seinfeld, who I loved, and was like, well, here's literally a documentary of him starting from zero and going back up to.
So the material in his first book or only book, Sign Language, was that was pre?
That's all.
That's the material that he was losing.
That's when he retired. Yeah, that's what's in the coffin,
and that's why he has the book out. Here, you can go and read my old material.
Yeah, this is all the old stuff.
It's funny, I assume that you've seen all the comedians in Cars Getting Coffee, as I have.
Yeah.
And did you see him with David Letterman's Netflix show?
Yes, I did.
Right.
Yeah.
Two of these I'm going to ask you about.
Okay.
One, his show where he was with Brian Regan the second time.
Yeah.
And then also with Letterman, he talked about critics. He doesn't like comedy critics.
Yeah. I love that line where he says, I've already left town with the money.
Well, yeah, that doesn't, I don't like that.
Yeah. Well, that's because you are a real critic. You have a critical eye. This is the problem with critics now, is everybody's just being asked by Google Maps to give something a number of stars, and nobody's qualified. A lot of people write reviews. It's their first ever comedy show they've seen. You are a great critic because you actually know comedy. You go see it, and you actually have a background. You know what you're talking about.
Well, thank you. But I think that he would be against any form of criticism by anybody. And there's some great critics in the States. And, because he says the audience has already voted.
Yeah.
I won.
Yeah.
My response to that, and I have to go through you because Jerry Seinfeld will never talk to me.
He might come to the show.
Or even on the phone for his shows. He doesn't do that.
Yeah.
My response to that is an audience could vote and cheer and laugh loudly. And I've talked about this with Ross Douk when he was here because he loves talking comedy.
Yeah.
Is that you could have a hack up there, or somebody doing somebody else's material, or somebody making fart sounds for an hour, and the audience could be convulsed with laughter.
Yeah.
So in a sense, they voted, but who cares?
Yeah, I think that it's also the other part of comedy that I like is kind of like replay value. Like if you hear the joke again, are you going to like it? Or do you remember any of the material when you leave is another one. Because I think a lot of people will watch a comedy show and it'll be hilarious in the moment because he talked to that guy and that guy there didn't have a hat and then this guy took his hat. No, it was nuts. And then you go home and you're like trying to retell that to people. You're like, oh, there was a hat. A guy had a hat and then he moved it. The comic took his hat and put it on a different guy. Anyway, it was crazy. But yeah, it's like one of those things where you can't.
Yeah, and there's value to that too. You're out, and you're having a good time, but there's no staying.
Yeah,
power.
and that's kind of what makes comedy so wonderful is that it has all these different styles. And so to me, I'm like, kind of, I want to make jokes that they'll always be able to, people can laugh at them. They're not time specific. You don't have to know anything about a certain thing. You don't have to be up on the news or whatever. Like any of my references, I want to try to make sure. Like The Walking Dead is a good example of one that I'm like, okay, it's time to let that joke go because it's been I wrote it, 6 or 7 years ago. It was about a specific show at the time that was the most popular show on television. Now it's not. So now when I bring it up, I've noticed diminishing returns in the people's laughter.
Well, yeah. So you like evergreen material. Now it's funny because you're always writing and coming up with new bits, and so you have all this material that could be used for years and years, but time doesn't allow it because when you go up, you have at most 45 minutes.
Yeah. And so I'll try and do the best but I'll pull out. What I really like is when I go to towns or cities more than once, I will come up with something about that city that I observed that I can then use next time I go. Mm-hmm. So I'll have if I'm in Calgary, I do a joke about the people who dress up as cowboys in the airport. Or if I'm here, obviously Vancouver, I have 20 minutes. I could do 20 minutes on just Vancouver specific stuff. Right.
And I guess in one of these cities, if it's good enough, you can take that to another city and talk about the people in Calgary.
Yeah, well, the Halifax airport joke that I opened my Netflix special with is about the lobsters at the airport in Halifax.
The one that is not out yet.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, don't spoil
Spoiler alert.
But so, and do you remember in this Letterman conversation with Jerry Seinfeld? And Seinfeld talked about critics, and then David said, yeah, but you don't get bad reviews. And he said, sure, I do. Still, what would they say? And Jerry said, well, I do the same jokes. And then I went, ooh, I think. And I had to go look up a review I did of him. And I thought, there's no way he would read my review.
Is that your review?
Well, no. I'm sure that I don't know that it is, but I'm thinking, well, geez, maybe that's why he won't do a phone interview with me. But
he knows your name.
But
I know the name of every critic that's ever given me a bad review.
I went to reread it, and it starts out the whole problem. And I've given him 2 glowing reviews apart from this one. This one was also glowing, but it just took a couple paragraphs to get to the glowing part. My problem was he had come through town, I don't know, a couple years earlier.
Yeah.
With all this new material, fantastic, with Mario Joyner.
Yeah, Mario Joyner.
Was the opener. He comes back 2 years later. Tickets are hefty price. They're over $100.
Yeah.
Same opener, doing the same material. And Jerry Seinfeld, who, I think I said this in the review, doesn't need money. He doesn't need to charge hundreds of dollars. He could do it for a lot cheaper. And I was going, well, if you're going to come back that soon and do the same act, either don't do the same act, write some new material, or else bring the ticket price down because, your fans are going to come out and go, oh, yeah, we saw this one.
Yeah. I still like I'll see it more than once, though. The way he does jokes, because you can get into the layers. You can go this...
Right, but...
all the little lines within it. But yeah,
you're going to spend $150 to...
My biggest complaint when I saw him last had nothing to do with him. It was the venue was awful. I saw him in an arena. I saw him and Chris Rock both came, and they did Thunderbird Arena out at UBC. Seinfeld was at the Abbotsford Arena.
Was he?
And it was...
I didn't even know about this.
Yeah, and I got tickets, and we left Vancouver at 5. I picked my girlfriend up from work. Show was at 7:30. We missed the first We missed all the openers.
Because
traffic was horrendous.
Yeah.
Because Abbotsford is not prepared for this amount of people wanting to go there. Normally everyone's leaving.
Well, just getting out of town anyway on that highway.
But we had HOV. Even then, we didn't... Because it was like we were trapped at the turning into the arena for about 30 minutes. Like, it was all very grossly mismanaged, the logistics of getting enough cars parked and getting people in, that we missed have. And then just the environment of seeing stand-up comedy in an arena is so... For someone who's a fan of comedy, like, if you never go to a comedy show, then yeah, go see a comedian in an arena. But compared to a theater, it's ridiculous to ever go see them in an arena.
Well, I was wondering this about you, and before we do that, you got to do that again.
Oh, the station ID.
Yeah.
The blank is me, right? My name goes there?
Well, whatever you want, whatever you feel like.
This is a line on a piece of paper, and you're listening to What's So Funny on CFRO 100.5 FM.
Well done, well done. I was wondering that about you. You know, your career is just consistently grown each year, right? Not only your abilities and your act, but it's taken the right steps, and you must have had plans and dreams and hopes all these years, and you still do. Right now, you're living in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And things are happening for you, and you go, hey, would I play an arena?
I don't know.
Is that a dream?
I've done it. I've opened for Brent in arenas.
Arenas? Brent has played arenas?
Yeah, we did an arena in Lethbridge, I believe. It was this... Because they can make the arena, they can sort of cut it anywhere they want, right? So
Right.
Based on ticket sales. So he did half the arena. They put the stage at the halfway point, which is still amazing.
Yeah.
But it's still an arena. Nothing is going to make it not an arena. They can turn the lights out. They can whatever they want, but it's echoey. It's big. They left the concession stands open. Arenas are designed to be like kind of milled about during the event, which is when I saw Chris Rock, people were getting up and going to get beer the whole time.
Doesn't that drive you crazy?
I was losing it because tickets were like $300 for floor seats, and it was nuts. People were just like the people in front of us were up and down like crazy. Like they just constantly were like, "Oh, you guys I'm gonna go to the bar." Okay, like I don't even think they listened to the show.
Yeah,
it was insane.
Terrible.
Insane.
Terrible. So maybe you don't dream of that, or do you just for?
No, I don't. I want to do theaters. I'd rather do 3 nights in a theater than one day in an arena.
So yes, now the people that you're opening for, the big names, Jim Gaffigan, Gad Elmaleh, as you say, John Mulaney, they play theaters. They come to towns.
Yeah.
Everyone comes out. We got to go see this guy.
Yeah.
So as you're thinking about your career, that would be ideal for you.
That's the dream.
What about clubs?
I love clubs.
I know you do, and a lot of these guys do too, and maybe even some of them prefer clubs, but just monetarily, theaters are better.
No, as a performance space, I much prefer a theater for a show that I'm on. Because a club, you have all the club problems. You have check drop, you have people who aren't there for you. They're getting drunk and just there to yell. That you have stag-at parties. Like, of course, if I could sell out a club and I know it's all my fans and they're not going to cause problems, maybe sometimes they even will. And I'm not saying that doesn't happen in a theater, but as far as things like the check drop, for those of you who don't know, check drop is in the middle of the headliner's set. They bring the bills out to the tables. I'm sure you've talked about this on the show.
It's the worst.
It's insane. It's like you'd be watching a movie and then during Act 3, they come around to your seat like, excuse me, hey, I'm trying to, the guys, they're wrapping up this. No, just right now, could you just quickly pay us for the popcorn that you had? You know how you didn't pay earlier for the popcorn? We want you to pay right now. And we've also divided it very complicatedly on this piece of paper, and you're going to have to do math in the dark. And don't disturb the show. So it's a terrible...
Yeah, and I guess their reasoning, apart from we just want to get people out, is that, hey, we're very quiet, and somebody can, pay with their card or however, and not really miss the show. But it's to me, it's like, CNN with all the banners going underneath it, chyrons or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
Anything that pulls focus you're going to lose something. We can all multitask and kind of get the gist of things, but you lose so much when you're not just giving it your full attention.
Yeah, and that's what makes a theater... Like, you want, as a comic, your whole goal is to have them hanging on your every word, have their full undivided attention, have them focused, and then for someone to come around and be like, hey, stop that. Here's another thing for you to do.
Although, people still get up and go get a beer at theaters, too.
Yeah, well... Yeah, I guess they do.
They do. I see it all the time.
Yeah.
It's the worst.
They have an intermission in a lot of them, which is also a weird thing for a comedy show. For a 90-minute show.
No, I'm a big fan of intermissions, Ivan.
You love them?
I think they should be in clubs, too. And I'll tell you why.
When would you do it?
I don't know.
That's the problem.
Don't they do it in England?
Yeah, and everybody gets popsicles or ice cream or something. It's a weird place.
Yeah, I just know.
But also in England, the headliners don't do 45 minutes. They do 20.
Okay.
You have 3...
No one ever does 45?
Unless they're in a theater.
Okay.
Which they'll do an intermission, I think. They'll have an opening act, then an intermission, then the opening act comes back and does like 10.
Well, maybe in the weekly rooms, in the bar rooms, maybe there should be, because here's the thing. Like now, a lot of times when I go to a comedy show, I'm just going by myself. So it doesn't matter. But when I go with friends...
Yeah, you want to talk.
You want to talk, and you want to talk about who you just saw. You'll forget them by the end.
Yeah.
You know?
I actually like what they do in LA, which I think they should incorporate here, especially for the longer shows, is get rid of MCs. And I say this as someone who loves Brent and loves Irvin well and know what he did as an MC to that show and made it amazing. However,
most people are not Brent.
Most people are not Brent Butt. A lot of people MC that shouldn't be. And barn burner style, so great. You just go up, you do your set. When you're done, you say thank you. You put the mic back in the stand. People clap. You just don't leave. You stand there for a second. When they're done clapping, you go, all right, your next act, you're going to love them. You learn about the act who's coming up after you. Mm-hmm. Get a couple credits.
I've seen one show out at Laugh Lines like that, and I thought this is great.
It's great. It works great. Yeah. Comedy Magic does it on the weekends.
They're doing it?
Yeah, that's how Comedy Magic runs their like Friday, Saturday shows.
Always, or is this a newer thing?
I don't know. But it's certainly, anytime I've seen it, when they do like 9 or 10 comics, it's great. Because, as an MC, if you are MCing that, you're there all night. Sometimes you maybe don't want to. You got to go to another show. You got to do something. Yeah. Especially at the clubs where the comics are doing 45 minutes. As the host, to have to wait the whole time the headliner's on stage on a Saturday late show. You've seen their act 4 times at this point. You have to sit in the back for the entire 45 minutes just to come out at the end and be like, thank you very much, everybody. Another hand for your headliner. Okay, good night. It's literally you waited 45 minutes to say that. Just let the headliner be like, okay, that's the show. See you later.
Yeah.
It's weird to come out after the headliner. It's very weird to have somebody walk back out.
Here's what I don't like is I don't like it when the host comes out and does another 5, 7, 8 minutes between acts. But I also don't like it when they just come out and go, hey, big hand for so-and-so. Your next comic is this person. It's like, well...
Yeah, bring it down.
Yeah, do like Brent did. Comment on the jokes. Say a line or two.
Yeah.
Have some jokes, but I don't want to see 5 or more minutes on it.
Yeah, don't do like your full showcase 5 before somebody who's their first time doing stand-up.
Yes. So Ivan, what else we got to talk about? So that was interesting. I think maybe Jerry Seinfeld did read my review.
Perhaps.
And if so, I apologize. But Jerry, if you're listening, read the whole thing.
You owe him an
apology. Go back and read the whole thing.
He's the guru.
And so you think there is a role for critics in art, anything.
In everything.
Because...
Restaurant critics, but I think that too many people, it's kind of it's one of the many epidemics of the internet culture we've now become part of, whether we liked it or not, is that nobody is an expert because everybody is. You know what I mean by that? It's like everybody feels like they have the capability to know anything just because they're like, I could just spend a couple of days and know that.
Right.
So nobody respects experts' opinions anymore. So nobody is revered the way that like Anthony Bourdain would be, or somebody like that who like, this is somebody who does this. You are like, I don't think there's a person in Vancouver that has been to more comedy shows than you that knows more about stand-up comedy as an art form, as an outsider, as an observer, as an audience member. But there's many people trying to do what you do poorly. You know, somebody from some stupid magazine will get sent because there's doing a comedy festival in town.
Yeah, I guess that's right.
Somebody who normally reviews like punk rock shows gets sent to see.
But I think there's value to that too, in a different way, in that we're all critics of whatever we see and experience.
Sure, yeah.
And we tell our friends.
Yeah.
And sometimes we can't express it because we're not experts. We say, oh, that sucks. Right?
Yeah.
So somebody who goes out, you know, who works in the newsroom or covers punk rock, whatever, comedy is around us all the time.
Yeah.
TV, movies, people watch stand-up specials. So, you know, people are getting more savvy to it, and they can come out and
But I also
opinion.
don't see why it's like people think it's very brave to. There's a lot of contrarianism out there just for the sake of it.
Sure.
Because if you say you don't like something, there's a kind of. It feels like you have power over that thing. You're like, that makes me cool because I hated it. So I'm better than it, so I'm better than you. Aren't I great?
Yeah.
Let me tell you about how bad I hate this thing so that you'll think I'm cool because I hate a thing.
But that's dangerous because people will say, yeah, but you don't. You just sit behind your typewriter.
Yeah,
Is
yeah.
that what they still use?
Typewriter, armchair experts.
Yeah, like what do you know? You know, film critic. Well, you've never made a film, so therefore you can't say anything. That's not right either, I don't think.
No.
You know, I always thought, and I'm sure many people don't respect what I have to say because I've never done stand-up comedy, but Kevin Fox said recently, and I had never thought of this, it was like, oh, he's not a wannabe comic, like trying to get in it. So there's more value to that.
Absolutely, there's so much value in that. I think that it's people. I don't hate critics as a whole. I really think people need to respect the good ones. Otherwise, they're kind of the thing they have that's so special is lost. Mm-hmm. It's like people should get to, because that's the way it used to be. People get to know, like Siskel and Ebert, or like there were these critics that people would go to be like, what should I watch? And then they would know because they're like, I watch everything, I'll tell you. And you'd get to know certain critics that you share an opinion with. Now everything's just a % number on Rotten Tomatoes. Like, I don't care about that. It's terrible.
Yeah.
And it's all wrong. You don't know me. I don't want the global average of anything. Restaurants, whatever. Like Google Maps' whole thing about like the 5 stars. Just everything in the world, rated by everybody, for everybody. It's just the whole thing is diluted now. It makes no sense.
It is, yeah. That's right. Another thing you don't like is in stand-up, we were just talking before going on here, is how modern technology has taken over your sense of fun off stage.
Sure, yeah, the kind of backstage riffing or even watching the show. It's kind of like one of the fun parts about stand-up is being a comedian is when you sit and watch the other people go up and watch them and laugh. Or if you go to like an open mic where people are very, like they're trying it out, but it's not going well, you can say things to your fellow comedians and kind of joke about it. It's very fun. I don't know, that part I like. Or just being in green rooms and riffing, telling stories. But that doesn't happen anymore because everybody's staring at their phones.
Everyone is. Is this more so here or in LA or
it's everywhere?
Everywhere?
And everybody's doing like and I know I'm supposed to do it. You got to pull out your phone and be like, yeah, what's up, everybody? I'm here at the green room. I'm going to be doing a show. Look at that. That's Kevin Banner over there. Oh, boy. And I don't know. You're supposed to do that. It's just so... Yeah, it seems like it's not. That's not why we're here. We're here to tell jokes.
Even amongst yourselves off stage.
Yeah, even talk about bits. Like, that's a weird thing that's like a taboo to be like, hey, can I run a joke by? Like, it's like that.
Oh, they don't do that anymore?
No. Heavens, no. You'd never do that.
Well, what about a best buddy who is a comic?
That I will do, but I'll do it like via text message. Like Charlie and I will often say. For me, I mostly am now like... I got to check the records if I'm like, does anybody do this bit about...
Sure, yeah.
This? Have you ever heard somebody do this? Because, it's so much of comedy, specifically my observations, I need to make sure that nobody's made the same one and said it better than me. because otherwise I'll just do it and then be like, oh, that's like this other comic has a bit that's twice as good as yours with the same outlook. And I'm like, oh, yeah, okay. I won't do that.
I sent you a clip of me talking with Brian Regan about that.
Yeah.
With somebody you hadn't heard, Dennis Wolfberg.
Yes, it was great.
Did you hear the clip?
Yeah, I heard the clip.
And he said that he started doing a bit that was very similar to Dennis Wolfberg's.
Yeah.
And it wasn't till about a year later somebody pointed out, hey, Dennis Wolfberg does a bit like that. And Brian Regan immediately went, oh, my God. And he just dropped it.
Yeah. You got to drop the bit. That's the rule. That happened to, or, sometimes you can change. It's just kind of funny because it's like the rules don't make any sense because with observational comedy, like, say you have a joke about whatever, I do a joke about a juicer. Somebody else talks about how juicers, there's not a lot of juice in there, which is a common observation about juicers. If you're going to write a material about it, that's where you're going to go. And you hear one other person do a juicer bit, you're like, you can't do yours anymore. And I'm like, but there's 1,000 comics being like, my wife wants me to clean up, but I don't want to. And it's like, why is that? Because it's so common. It's not, you can just, everybody can do it. Like, when does an idea become sort of public domain? Unless it's like a specific observation.
Here's the thing, I think
it's a hard line to walk,
Yeah. I think, and there's no way for an audience member to know this, but if you see another comedian talk about how you can't get juice out of a banana or whatever,
there's
not a lot of juice in there, and that spurs you on to a whole, you'd never thought of juicers before, and now you're thinking of juicers because of that.
Yeah.
I go, don't do that.
But that's how art is created.
I guess so.
Musicians listen to music to write their own music. Mm-hmm. I listen to comedy to get me in the mood to write, not necessarily their material or their ideas, but the rhythm is something that I almost need to get my brain into. So if I'm not feeling like writing, I will watch or listen to a comedy album of somebody who I enjoy, and then that gets my mind working. I can then start looking at things, you kind of change the lens of your perspective into the world of talking like a stand-up comic.
Who has the best rhythm?
I mean, they're all so different, but Mulaney's got great rhythm. I really, I have to listen to comics who are close to my style for the most part. I mean, I don't know. I'll still listen to like Bill Burr or Joe Rogan. He has a new Netflix special that's actually quite good.
Oh, is it?
I liked it.
Okay, good.
But then obviously, like the albums I have on my phone that I listen to are Pete, Impregnated with Wonder, Pete Holmes, Mulaney, any of his albums, Seinfeld, Brian Regan, Bargatze. I love. I can't talk like him though because he is such a unique rhythm. I think actually, you know what? If I'm gonna say best stand-up rhythm right now is Nick Bargatze.
Do you share a manager?
We have the same agent recently.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. And you didn't know him. I know he tweeted about your appearance on Conan without...
Yeah, I don't know him. I never got a chance to meet him when he came through town because Phil Hanley, who is from here, he kind of saw Nate when he first went to New York, and I know he told a few people, like, hey, this guy Nate's coming to town. You guys got to go see him. He's the best. And I remember there's a lot of, this has happened to me numerous times where like a comedian comes to town that everybody's like, you got to see him. And I'm like, I'm working. Like I can't. I'm in Calgary or I'm in Winnipeg. Like I'm doing stand up somewhere else that I can't. I don't have the weekend off to go and see him. So it's like I'm a prisoner of my own success.
Have you met
way.
Since?
No, I've never met him.
Oh.
I'd like to. I don't know. He's a hero of mine.
Hey, by the way, apologies to you. Charlie DeMero's got to do WTF with Mark Maron a week or so ago, and here you are stuck with me.
No, I like it. It's fine.
Consider this practice for when you get to do Maron.
Sure, yeah, if I ever get to be on that show.
Yeah, you'd really have to open up. I haven't heard Charlie's episode yet, have you?
No, I haven't.
Yeah, I'm going to.
Yeah.
I've got it downloaded, but you have to really... open up.
You got to get raw. He's like stern.
Yeah. Everybody talks about their vulnerabilities.
Yeah.
Maybe if you want to practice here, you got anything you want to share?
I don't know. Sometimes I stay up too late. that bad?
Ivan Decker.
This is Ivan Decker, by the way. And you are listening to What's So Funny on CFRO 100.5 frequency modulation.
Oh, is that what FM stands for?
Yeah.
What's AM?
Amplitude modulation.
Wow, he's a science guy. That's good. Hey, and now this is a momentous night because you are the first guest ever to do New Joke, Old Joke twice.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, you were here 10 months ago, and that's about when we started.
So fun.
Yeah.
Well, thank you for having me back.
What do you got? Got anything? Or you want me to go first?
You go first.
Okay, I got a good street joke.
Okay.
So my son was in class. I'm personalizing this here.
Yeah.
Okay? Yeah, my son was in class, and his teacher said, "Hey, how are you kids going to watch the Canucks game this weekend?" And all the kids raised their hand, and not my son. He said, "Why not?" My son said, "I'm not a hockey fan. My parents love basketball, so I love basketball." And the teacher said, "Well, that's a lousy reason. Like, what if your parents were morons?" And my son said, "Well, then I'd be a hockey fan." Boom.
Pretty good. I like that joke.
Thank you.
This is another classic street joke. Very simple 3-person structure. So there's 3 guys in a lifeboat after a shipwreck, floating in the ocean for a month, and then a bottle floats up to the side of the boat, and they uncork it, and a genie comes out. And he's like,
lucky.
"You can have 3 wishes." And the first guy's like, 3 each? No, 1 each. Let's go. So the first guy's like, "Well, I wish, of course, I was back home with my family and loved ones, surrounded by them and off of this boat." And poof, he's gone. Second guy wishes for the same thing. Third guy is a little pensive, and he goes, "It's really lonely on this boat without those other guys. I just wish they were back here with me."
Oh, nullifying them all.
Yeah. Classic.
Classic.
Sitcom ending. Episode 2, we're back in the boat.
All right. And I dusted off a gem from a stand-up comedian. See if you can recognize this.
Okay.
I have a hard time watching what I eat because I eat so damn fast. I don't even know what I had half the time. I'll be like, "What was that? Cake? Huh? A hot dog? Really? Great, because I love hot dogs." I was wondering, ketchup on cake? What the hell kind of place is this?
I know who that is. That's Brent Butt.
The great Brent Butt. And the last line, you think the joke's there, and then,
Yeah.
Great, because ketchup on cake
Yeah.
was a hot dog.
He's a brilliant joke writer.
Very funny.
Definitely one of the. It was funny because, I've talked about this, I think, before in the show. Is I started comedy right after he kind of left.
Oh, too bad.
I never saw him host the Urban Well.
The best.
The first time I saw Brent live was when he was coming back. He was doing a special, and he was kind of working some material around. And I think the first place I saw him was in the theater doing 20 minutes or something. I never got to see him in the raw, rough and tumble Urban Well
with his rye and
hosting it up.
7.
Yeah, drinking rye.
Coke.
I still have. Maybe I've told you this story. It's one of my favorite stories in comedy, where a comic had been asked to be booked. Have I told this story on the show before?
Tell me.
Comic asked to do a spot on the show, and he's bothering him for a long time. And this is a very prestigious show. Everybody wants to be on it. And he's like, fine, I'll give you a spot. Fine. So comic comes down, bomb city. Can't do well. Sucks. Comes off stage. Brent is standing at the back, and he goes, "Oh, that was a really fun spot. When can I do the show again?" And Brent just looks off, and he goes, "I don't know, but imagine the technology we'll have."
No, I don't think you have.
Oh, so great. One of the greatest lines ever.
Yeah, he's so funny off the cuff, but it makes you wonder, was he just saving that for the...
Maybe, or maybe not. I don't know. It's weird. It's such a weird thing with comedy. Because even, for me, most of my best jokes that like I would consider best are the ones that like people tell me like, oh, I love that reverse engineer tacos joke. It's like I don't even remember writing it. I don't know how it happened. I literally just said it one night on stage.
Wow.
And then kept it. And then that's how it got formed. So
yeah, that is such a good joke. Reverse engineer tacos from memory.
I honestly just like I was using it as a bridge into like my microwave joke or something about how like I needed to say I couldn't cook, so I use a microwave, and then I just wrote this joke that is now much better than the joke that it was supposed to bridge to. So
just wrote it, meaning you said it.
I said it, yeah,
and remembered it.
I said it on stage, and then I was like, oh, that worked. I'll do that next time I need to get.
Yeah, that makes me wonder how bad was your joke before that.
Yeah, I don't know. I do that a lot, and it's one of the things that kind of is hard about Los Angeles is you don't have the luxury of the amount of stage time you can get, where I have the freedom to do that, to just kind of play with stuff and riff on new material and have these ideas. Because like usually when I'm developing like a new 5 minutes, I'll have like an anchor bit, like one bit in there that is like something I wrote down that's funny and good, but then everything around it is kind of this amorphous intro and extra that I'll just talk for a long time, and then if the jokes are there, I'll keep them and take everything else out, and then you eventually just kind of like reduce it.
And you don't have the opportunity in LA as much because why?
Because you just can't. I'm new there, so anytime I do a show, it needs to be the best show possible. Yeah. So I'll do like my best jokes always.
SkyTrain material.
Yeah, I do a lot of public transit in Vancouver. They're like, what is the bus? We're rich. And who is Vancouver?
Let me ask you about Los Angeles. Oh, by the way, did you have a new joke from a comic that you liked that you were thinking of?
Oh, yeah. Who did I see last night that did a good new bit? Harris Anderson, who's a comic that I really enjoy watching. He has a new joke that I heard last night that I cannot remember now. But he's good. Go see him.
Okay, good.
Sorry, so I only did half of my homework.
Los Angeles, just living there and the comedy scene, you're enjoying it?
Yeah, it's cool. It's a lot of, I mean, it's LA, so there's a lot of ego involved in your showing up. It's a weird world because talking about like wannabe comedians in positions of power, all of the clubs there are run by like the door people, the people who are checking IDs and deciding whether or not you're qualified to come in and watch the show are wannabe comedians. That's who works the door at the Comedy Store. And
how would they know? Like, what if you show up for the first time?
Yeah,
you have to give them your
I don't
resume?
know. Maybe I'm supposed to, but I'm a humble guy, so I don't want to come up and be like, yo, let me in. I've been on Conan and like pull my phone out. Maybe I should. I don't know. But it's a weird position because I want to just be like, oh, no, I'm a comedian. I just want to come in. And they're like, I've never heard of you. I'm like, okay, I don't want to do this. I'm just going to go home.
So you just turn
I'll just leave. I don't have time for that.
And you're not going to pay.
No. I've thought about starting to because I legitimately do love watching stand-up comedy.
Yeah.
And I want to go see the shows, and the people there are the best in the city a lot of the time. So I might just start doing that because I don't care to. I would rather pay than have to go through these weird little like hoops of what kind of credits do you have? You can't go in the main. You can go in this other room. We're having an open mic, and you have to sit in the front, and you can't leave. Like I don't want to do that. So,
which club's the best club for you to go hang out at?
Comedy Magic in Hermosa Beach. I love, but I still
because they let you in.
Yeah, and I still only go when I'm on the show. Okay. As far as kind of going and watching, I really like the Improv, and I've had some success getting in the door there, but it's really dependent on who's working and whether or not they know me and who I'm with. If I'm with other comedians, they'll kind of let me in. But
the world-famous Improv.
The world-famous Hollywood Improv.
I got into a cab in Hollywood, said, take me to the world-famous Improv. Where's that, sir?
Yeah, where is it?
They had no idea.
It's on Melrose.
I had to get out of the cab, go ask a doorman somewhere.
Really?
Yeah, where is it?
Melrose Avenue.
Yeah, world famous improv. Then I go to the show. I may have told you this. Headlining was a good friend, Lachlan Patterson.
Oh, nice.
Toby Hargrave was on the show.
Wow.
And
it was everybody you could have seen here.
yes.
You flew all the way to the 9 zip code world.
And Alex Nussbaum.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Other Canadians.
Yeah.
Pretty good.
It was a great show, actually.
Yeah, that sounds like
so.
a
You
great
like
line.
those clubs, and how about just going to all the the laundromat shows and the bar
there's all
shows?
these little alt rooms.
You can get in there. They don't turn you away.
No, I think some of them would make me pay, but I don't care. I'm just going to start paying because I want to go watch comedy.
Yeah.
It was kind of a thing I've been milling about in my head, trying to decide should I, but I think I just decided right now that I'm like, yeah, here, you can have my $8. Mm-hmm. Leave me alone.
Right.
It's worth it to just, it's like paying off. It's like when you're like a big time mobster and someone's like, yeah, get man, and you're like, get out of here. Here's $20.
And
leave me alone.
Somebody is going to see you paying and going, yeah, what are you doing? Get in here.
Yeah, maybe. Or they'll be like, this guy's not a real comedian because he pays to get in.
Oh, that's the dilemma.
It's also the thing of like, people told me for open mics, it's like, don't bother doing them because then you'll be branded an open micer forever.
Oh, man. What about just looking at the person and listening to what they have to say and deciding?
Yeah, I don't know if people do that anymore.
So,
that sounds like a very old school way of school of thought guy.
No, it's all credits in the States, right? It's all about credits.
I love the credits are so hilarious too, because it's all like the weirdest. Like this guy wrote for half a season on Paw Patrol. It's like not even a comedy show. Or it's like weird. I don't know.
What? So you don't get to. You're turning around and going home. What are you spending your days doing down in LA? On the pier.
Yeah, there's a lot of good food there.
Yeah.
You spend a lot of time in traffic. I drive around, do stuff, but then
drive around just for driving around's sake, or errands?
I'll go places. I mean, I'm still like setting up stuff in my apartment, so if I have to go to like IKEA, there's an IKEA in beautiful downtown Burbank that I've been to a lot since I've been there. But now I have the furniture, so most of the time when I'm there, I write. I do the same thing I would do here.
Okay.
I have a computer and I sit, I write, I watch comedy.
But it sounds like you're saying you can't get out and do as much comedy as you would do
No,
Vancouver.
definitely not. Because here I can
That's weird, isn't it?
3 or 4 shows in a night. Yeah, I just need to establish myself, but it takes so long to break in because everybody in the world that wants to do stand-up goes there or New York. And so to kind of get in with people takes a very long time. And it's a weird kind of catch-22 because any time not spent in LA, it's almost like a little reset. But then you're not making money. Then you're just sitting in LA, going to shows, shaking hands. Hello, hi. No, I'm funny. When can I do the show? 6 months from now. Okay. And then you do the show 6 months from now. And then somebody on that show sees you and they're like, I book a show. Can you, people are so like business minded there. I did a show once and there was another comic on the show and I thought they were very funny. And so I just said, I was like, hey, that was a really funny set. And the guy was like, thanks, do you book a show? And I was like, no, I'm just a comic. And he walked away, he literally turned his back and left, just walked away from me. It's like, I don't even care about your opinion.
Oh, do you ever think of going to New York instead?
Yes.
And?
Probably I'll end up there.
Yeah.
I think. But Los Angeles for me right now it's where my management is, it's where my agent is, so I like it for that reason. Also, it's nice to not be in weather for a while. I could really get used to it being sunny every day.
Yeah, could you?
Having been from here and having spent time in many a Canadian winter in the eastern parts of the country, I could go a few years without, freezing. It's nice.
Here in Vancouver, yeah, it's tough.
Well, you're wet. It's wet and cold. The sun goes down at 3 p.m. Mm-hmm. It's awful. LA's sunny all the time.
Sunny all the time.
Go to the beach. In 45 minutes, you can be in like a beach from a postcard.
That's right. And you go to New York, it's going to be cold.
Yeah. I went to New York one year.
And stinking hot in the summer.
Yeah, and it was unbelievably cold because the wind comes up off the water and gets funneled through the buildings. You're in this like icy wind tunnel.
Yeah.
I remember walking down the street in New York. It was in December. I saw the people on the street that sold like mittens and scarves to tourists. And I remember walking being like, those idiots. They're not, who's going to buy that? 1 block later, I was like, how much? $50? Please. Take my money. I'm so cold.
So New York, baby. LA for now. And you said you're performing in the middle somewhere.
Yeah, I'm doing Des Moines, Iowa in February.
Des Moines, Iowa. And you're sure it's Iowa?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I said Idaho earlier. I don't know my states.
Iowa.
States.
There's Idaho, Iowa, and Ohio.
And Ohio.
They're very similar.
And Montana's around there somewhere.
Well, that doesn't sound quite the same.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Missouri.
And they say Missouri.
Missouri.
Yeah.
What's the other one? There's one other one near there that's...
Oh,
where's New Orleans? Is that in Missouri?
Louisiana.
Louisiana. There we go.
You're changing your phraseology down there?
Yeah, I have to change.
You do not.
I have to change.
You do not.
I don't have to?
You don't have to.
I can say grade 11?
Yes, please do.
Okay.
I was just texting with a friend who moved to Oregon, and her son is going to school, and she says, well, now it took me so long to figure out sophomore, junior,
senior, yeah.
Wait, sophomore is the first one, right? No, that's the second one. Freshman,
sophomore, juniors. Yeah, so grade 9 is freshman.
Right, yeah.
Sophomore is grade 10, 11 is junior, and grade 12 is senior.
And I said, no, you don't need to change.
Yeah.
Why are Canadians the only ones who have to adapt in England or the U.S.?
Yeah, they all say rubbish still. I'm going to invite people over and say, sit on my Chesterfield, God damn it.
Because, Stuart Francis does a joke where he says, people say I don't respect my girlfriend, but that's not true. If you don't believe me, go out in the car and ask her yourself. But not loud, she's in the trunk.
Yeah.
But over there he has to say, but not loud, she's in the boot. I said, why don't you just still say trunk? And he said, because people just stare. Like they have no idea what you're saying. But British comics come here, American comics come here, and we understand. It's like we're trilingual.
Yeah, because we have the American television. I always attribute it to the fact that to an American, we sound American. They can't pick up on the subtleties.
Except for the out.
The out, if you say it. But, so when you do say a word, like if you have a British accent and then you say rubbish, people are like, oh, of course, because they're British. But if you sound American, then all of a sudden you say parkade, people are like, what is that? I don't understand.
What? Who doesn't know parkade?
America.
What do they say?
Parking garage.
Okay. We understand that too. We would say that sometimes.
Yeah, but it's like
parking lot.
You'd think you could extrapolate
right.
Parkade. Someone literally asked me, they're like, where'd you park your car? And I said, oh, in the parkade. And they're like, the what? Hold on. What is that crazy thing? I'm like, oh, I don't know. The garage, thing. It's a structure. I don't know what you call it.
Right in it.
Yeah.
Although I guess there's parkour. Is that something?
Yeah, that's the free running.
Right, that has nothing to do with parking.
Yeah.
So
unless there's a car in your way and you want to jump over it.
Right. So you are adapting your language. You're saying
I got to say out.
Out. Well, no, I mean some people have it really pronounced, sort of that shortened O sound. Oat. But
I pick it up when I go see my family.
I don't think you have it strongly. I don't think I do, but sometimes I hear it.
When I worked at the call center, when I kind of first started comedy, people thought I was American because of the way that, I don't know, I guess it's just my dad's dialect. From Saskatchewan, they kind of have a bit of a drawl, and I think maybe that got latched on. My grandfather was American. He was from North Dakota.
Well, here we go.
And so I think maybe that's how it came in, and so I didn't really have the oat the way. I don't even know how to do it.
No, I don't either.
But they do get very excited if you say A. It's quite adorable.
But I have an ear for this, and so I hear on TV shows, whether it's reality or movies or whatever, occasionally you'll hear Americans say it.
Yeah, of course.
And of course you hear Australians and British people say it, but somehow we're stuck with the reputation.
Because it's the only thing we say that's different, maybe? I don't know. It's such a small thing.
But when they get up in arms about, a slight accent shift or something, I go, well, yeah, you realize we are from another country.
Yeah. I know. That's the crazy thing.
It's like we're allowed to.
I remember explaining to somebody that I was an immigrant, and they thought I was, like, joking. They're, like, laughing. And then I was like, no, I honestly don't know where that is. I'm an immigrant to your country. They're like, what?
No, that can't be.
I was like, no, I have a green card.
Hey, you don't have dual citizenship because of your grandfather?
No, it was because it's a weird process, and he's been dead for a while, and we would have had to go digging through. I think it would have been easier for me to just do the way I did it than like dig up old family records, find stuff, and then I think it has to go through your father. So like my dad would have to get his dual citizenship, his American passport. He would have to file. That would take a long time. Then it goes to me. At least that's what was explained to me by. I'm not an expert on it.
By a lawyer who wanted your money for the green card.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what it was.
Maybe it's easy. I don't know. But I know other comics who've tried to do it, and there is a lot of stipulations. It's not as easy as you think. It's not like Britain, where it's like, my grandmother was British. They're like, great, come on over.
Hey, I mentioned
some chips.
Do you have to get going? Because Sam Tonning isn't here tonight. By the way, I don't know what your beef is, you two, why he's not here. But he, when I told you that, you said, oh, good, Sam's not here.
No, I was only kidding.
Oh, yeah, right.
I don't have to go anywhere.
No. Okay, good, because when Sam's here, boom, right at midnight, we're out of here.
Yeah, Sam's got
So we can run a little long, but we mentioned Lachlan earlier. I did. Do you hang out with other... You said DJ Demers you hang out with?
Yes, I like DJ
Any
a lot.
other Canadian comics down there that you see and that could vouch for you at one of these clubs?
Yeah, they're pretty good, but I don't know them because they're all from Toronto, so they can't really vouch
Lachlan's
for me.
from here.
Yeah, Lachlan's from here. He's one of the ones I think that helped me at Comedy Magic, put in a good word for me.
Yeah, and you don't know Deb DiGiovanni?
I know Deb, and I know them, but I don't, like I said, I don't know them well. I know them in the same way that I would know a comedian from LA that I've done 2 shows with. Like, we don't...
Okay.
We don't see each other very... Like, it's very...
You'd see each other at a debater's recording.
At a debate, maybe, or at Just for Laughs, but it's like, I'll see Americans at Just for Laughs, too. It's not It's not common for Vancouver and Toronto comedians to fraternize unless I've lived in Toronto. And I'm one of the very few comedians who did not move to Toronto, and I just decided to go... right to the States. There's a handful of comics that have gone from Vancouver to the States. Like a lot of the natural progression, I think that people want you to do is go to Toronto first.
Move up big city by big city.
Go there, then go. But I went to Toronto. I spent 2 months there, and it felt more like a lateral move from here, and it was going to be a lot harder to get stage time. At that point, I was very intrigued by which I now know is very common. When you start comedy in a big city, you don't get to do shows where there are people in the crowd that aren't comedians. It's such a special thing we have here. And I know I've talked about this before on the show, but that's what we have that's so unique, is you can go very quickly. 3 months into comedy, you can get on a show where people paid to get in and they want to see comedy. Huh. That never happens.
Really?
In Toronto or New York or LA. Like, you're doing open mics for 3 years before you ever get in front of a person who isn't a comedian who is going to laugh. At least that was from my experience when I went there. Like, all the shows.
And you're 2 months there.
All the shows I was able to get on. Even at the time, I had done, like, Just for Laughs, and I had some credits and stuff. And even then, it was like, now you can do this.
But now you're starting to be known in Toronto, too.
Am I? I don't think so.
I think so.
In what way?
I don't know. Well, one, Just for Laughs is recognizing you. Yeah. That's not Toronto, but, I mean, they have JFL 42.
Yes. Yeah, they do.
Brent Piaskowski just tweeted today.
I like
You're
that
the
guy.
best.
He's great.
He's Toronto, right?
Yeah, he's originally from there. And I like Toronto. I wish I could spend more time there, but I don't work any of the clubs out there. I don't have a relationship with them.
That is crazy.
So I'd love to go back. Literally, the last time I played Toronto was at Massey Hall, opening for Danny Boy, which is a great venue. I love it. Mm-hmm. But that's like the top venue there, I think, that a lot of people do. And then it's like, all right, see ya.
That's crazy.
Can't get back in.
Another guy you've opened for. Oh, speaking of the American phraseology, and I know that that you're a guy who listens to somebody like me when what was that phrase? Oh, I said begs the question, don't say that. And then you immediately changed it. So there's one that I heard, and this is an Americanism that is taking over the planet. And so we're saying it now, and I heard Brent say it on stage recently. And
oh, really? Which is it?
He said graduating high school.
Oh, I know, graduating from.
Yeah, but it's so common now, and I mean we see it on TV that I think people are, and I was too. I had to do some research to find out is that okay to say graduating high school or college, or university? And no, grammatically it isn't.
Yeah, you're supposed to say graduated from.
But it's so common now that people don't know, so they say it because it sounds like, well, that person's smart, and they say it. So it doesn't really matter. It's a grammar nerd thing, but yeah.
Yeah, I know. I do the joke about the bulk foods. I graduated and immediately got a job in a bulk foods department. And I don't even say it. Sometimes I drop the high school. I just say, and then I graduated and immediately got a job. Or I graduated high school, but you
say graduated high school.
I say graduated. I've caught myself saying it, even after the conversation we had, and I know I'm supposed to say from, but that's the grammatical side of me. But then the other side of me, which is the comedic editor, is like, if I don't need words and I get the same laugh, I'm dropping them.
Come on, it's one word. Or from.
Yeah, it's one syllable. So
did I mention that last time you were here? Or we talked about this off?
I think we talked about it off stage when I did. But that's like, it's like British people who say hospital. I'm going to hospital. Gaffigan.
Oh, well, that's a whole different language.
Gaffigan talks about it on his
does he?
Last album. It's very funny.
When I saw him here at the comedy festival last time he was here, he was great.
He's awesome. I love Jim Gaffigan.
Yeah. And he loves you too.
Well, I don't know about that.
Well, everybody loves you now. You're the opener, but at some point you got to graduate past that.
Yeah.
Right?
Graduate from or past opening. It's hard. It's so hard to make the leap. I would much rather perform for somebody else's fans who just want to see comedy.
And then take everyone by surprise.
Yeah, it's true. There's not a lot of expectations. It's fun. Like I did, when you do your own show, it's a lot more... I don't know, it's more pressure. But I guess
because you're always worried about, is anyone going to show up? Are they going to like it?
Yeah. Are they going to be mad I'm not doing 100% new material?
Right. Whereas if you come on as, hey, we got an opener. What? Great. Yeah. I always love to see an opener.
Yeah.
Or if we know you, hey, it's Ivan.
Yeah.
There's no pressure. There's no expectations. And you don't care if anyone shows up or not.
Yeah, it's great. Well, I know. I usually love it when they do because it's a full crowd.
Yeah. But it's not on you if they don't.
It's made me... Theaters, I've really become... I love theaters because there's so many little dials you can turn, too. That's what's fun about it. You can be like, I want less light. I want this darker. Like a club, it's literally like, the stage over there talking to that mic. I'm like, but it's dented and it cuts out shut up. That's how we do it. Whereas
so you go there during sound check?
Theater, I love the sound check. I love deciding, I don't need that huge wash. Put a little bit of light here.
Oh, you know all the lighting lingo.
I want the crowd super dark. Sometimes they just assume you want the crowd up so that you can...
talk to them.
Look at them. I'm like, oh.
Hey, that guy doesn't have a hat.
Yeah. Hey, let's put his hat on this other guy. We've all had a great time tonight.
Full circle. Okay, Ivan, anything else that we need to mention? You're in L.A.
You've got the notes.
You're opening for Gad Elmaleh in November
8th, which is also my 33rd birthday.
Oh, on your birthday.
On my birthday, I get to do a show in a theater, which is all I want.
That's great.
It'll be tremendous.
At the Chan Center.
At the Chan Center.
Have you played that?
I have. That's where I opened for him last time. I also opened for Tig Notaro there, and it was phenomenal.
Wow.
Yeah.
Best experience opening for someone?
Ooh. Had to be Mulaney, because that was the first kind of big theater show where I opened for somebody. And it was that specific show changed everything for me because it was J.P. Buck, who books Conan, was in the audience, and Robbie Pra, who's involved in Netflix, was there that night. And like everything just kind of aligned. Like I had a great 20 minutes that I had been working on the road, and it was like ready to go, super hot, and the crowd could not have been hotter. So.
How do nerves affect you?
I will sometimes get really stiff if I'm nervous. Like I don't move around as much. I don't move my head. When I'm relaxed, I wobble my head a lot when I talk, and I feel like it makes me funnier. I don't know.
In watching, a wobbly-headed guy.
In watching the cut of my Netflix special, I have so many physical problems that I need to address for if I ever do a special again.
And you don't want to say it because we don't want to know.
No, you don't want to know. But
because then it'll take us out of what you're saying.
If you can guess what I'm upset about, then send it to me. Please send me all problems you had with my physical form.
Were you nervous during the Netflix taping?
Yeah, I didn't. It sort of by degree, because like you do 2 shows, and so the first show you are always a little bit nervous, and then show 2 you're a little bit more relaxed, and that's the one everybody uses as the tape because you're so much more loose. You can kind of relax a little more into stuff. And it was funny because like audio-wise, the words I'm saying sound exactly the same. It was all delivered the same, but my physicality, I just look, your shoulders are down, you're much more relaxed, you're leaning into jokes more, you're moving around. It's interesting. So
more conversational.
Yeah, more conversational and just more dynamic. Like if I'm nervous and I just go to material, I become very stiff and I don't move as much. I kind of plant.
I'm guessing that wouldn't
talk fast.
That wouldn't last throughout the duration of your performance because once the first wave of laughter comes in, that's got to make you just go, oh, okay.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. That's when. But I still, you have that fear of like, okay, I got him now, but I could lose him at any moment. So my whole set, even the first time I headlined, it's like, hold. It's like it's like surfing. You're like, I got to stay on this. If I fall off this wave, there might not be another one. So I got to stay on top of these people and just ride it out. Don't let anything. That's why I have so much trouble like taking a sip of water on stage because I don't want to let that energy fall back down to zero.
You got to embrace the silences sometimes.
Yeah, and I'm starting to do that more and more now. That's kind of been my project lately, is really kind of slowing down or even saying things that don't necessarily have a planned laugh at the end, just saying a sentence and then pausing, then a punchline, things like that where you're just talking and it's not rhythmically involved in comedy. It's just sort of part of the, especially in your first minute on stage. I could do a whole study of the first minute. When I did Conan, I tried to find as many late night appearances as possible just to watch them come through the curtain and what they said.
And how they get into their act.
It's
awkward a lot on those talk shows. Yeah.
It's awkward everywhere. Every show is weird. That's why, even at a club, everybody coming through the curtain. When I started comedy, I would be very conscious of, make sure you are smiling. Make sure you look at the crowd. Things like that a lot of people don't do. They'll look at the floor, then they'll take the mic out, then they'll start talking, then they'll look up, which is weird. That first minute is, especially if people don't know who you are. Once you're a celebrity, then it doesn't matter. You walk out and people are instantly like, that's the person we love. But if you're unknown and you're a comedian, and especially now if people are putting expectations on me when they introduce me on their shows, like, this guy's a Juno Award and he did this. I have to come out and something has to happen in that first minute that at least meets people's expectations. So that
you never get a second chance to make a first impression, young man.
And in stand-up comedy, it isn't. There's no purer example of that. It's like you can sync your whole, especially if you're only doing 5 minutes. You can sync the whole. In a longer set, you do have a luxury of I could come out weird, but after 15 minutes, they're like, okay, I guess we like it. But then in a 5-minute set and a 7-minute set, you have to come out and be like, here's me, this is who I, and it's like, even just picking an opening joke for the special was so hard to be like, what do I say when I first start? How do I start talking? Great to be here. Even closing the show, what do I say?
Oh, closing on talk shows is terrible.
You've been great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. What a great audience. I think I said you've all been unbelievable. I don't even remember what I said. I do remember I put the mic on the stool like I was hanging up a phone, far too quickly. Because I was I wanted to say, thank you very much, good night, and then, look around. But I also remembered that there There's no mic stand. So I was like, you have to put the mic on the stool before you leave. So I did that. I was like, thank you so much. Put the mic down. Then turned back around and was like, oh, thank you. Yeah. And then left.
Both tapings?
Yeah. The first one I had a longer, like, whatever. But then the second one I was like, okay, I got to put the mic on this.
But all this talk, ladies and gentlemen, from Ivan Decker, this is why I said he has that real commitment to craft. You think about these things. A lot of people maybe put effort into their material, as they should primarily, but also just thinking about how you address the crowd, how you get into your material, how you exit it.
Yeah.
You really take it from all angles.
I want it to be the best in every way. You know, it would be like trying to make a really good sandwich without focusing on the bread, too. The bread's part of it. You could put anything you want in that sandwich, but if that bread's not good.
The bread, the beginning and the end. That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
by the way, all of my material is food-based now.
as it should be.
It's literally impossible for me to make an analogy that does not involve some kind of soup or sandwich.
You and Jim Gaffigan. Well, that's good. When can we see this Netflix special? This supposed Netflix special
who
that
knows?
you're talking about?
Maybe it'll never happen. Maybe Netflix will go out of business before then. But
2019, right?
Yeah, it'll
But
be
we
out
don't
in
when?
2019. They said Q1 or Q2, which means
Quarter one?
Yeah.
Quarter two.
Quarter one, quarter two. So
Divide the months into four.
Three or four? Four.
Divide it into four, and then
Yeah.
you get 3.
Yeah, 3 months is one Q.
Yeah.
You broke my brain there for a second. Yeah, so I'm thinking like Marchish, maybe later.
Yeah. And do you think that there's there are so many stand-up specials now, and then putting out however many you said there were going to be, you could just get lost in there.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what I'm expecting to happen. I can't believe it doesn't make sense to me that anybody's going to see other than the people who I tell to watch it.
Well, word of mouth too.
Yeah, I mean,
And we'll see those 5 stars.
Hopefully it's
Hey,
good.
the world has said
enough.
this is 5.
Yeah, hopefully it's good enough that people tell people about it. I mean, I'm proud of it. I really liked it. What I did, what people think of it is entirely up to them.
All different material from your album, your Juno Award-winning album.
I did 2 jokes from the album. I did.
And when you say a joke, do you mean a whole bit?
Yeah, because I've added parts that were different. So the microwave joke is in there, and the Walking Dead material, because I really wanted to do a joke about Netflix on Netflix.
Aha.
And so I did the Walking
Very
Dead.
meta.
But there's a part in it that's not on the album, which is now the best part of it, the closing part of the bit, which I didn't do for the album. The album version of that joke, it just kind of peters out. Whereas shortly after I recorded the album, I wrote a much better little button that ties up the bit, which is on the Netflix special.
Great.
Yeah.
Very exciting.
Yeah.
And then when this is up, it'll be on in different countries.
Yeah.
So maybe you won't have to pay to get into a comedy club in L.A.?
Maybe. We'll see. Just want to be able to walk into the Comedy Store and look at a show.
That's all I want.
That's my dream. Let me watch.
Watch a show. Yes. I mean, yeah, because that's another thing, too. A lot of comics stop watching comedians.
Yeah, no, I love it. I really like, and that's one of the fun parts about leaving town too, is when I come back, I get to see all these new comics I've never seen before that are very funny, and they have new material, and it's all great.
And then seeing how the other ones have built material since you left.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Seeing how jokes have transformed is really fun too.
Because you have to go away to experience that now that you're gone. Because when you were here, it doesn't matter. I saw you 3 weeks ago, and boom, now you got new material. Yeah. Because you were always writing.
Well, I don't know if that's true.
You were.
Well, I don't know. I try.
Did you write today?
Yeah.
And when you say writing, are you refining what you've already written, or are you coming up with brand new possibilities for ideas?
I was adding to bits. So I did a set at the Sunday service tonight, and so I was getting ready for that set. So just mentally, I'm looking at the jokes I'm going to do and then figuring out how I'm going to attach them to the jokes around them and then adding little bits in between. And so the writing is really kind of changing, like how the reverse engineer tacos joke came out of nowhere. It's that very much that. It's like, how am I going to get from this joke to this joke? Okay, I did it last night and it was a bit, maybe I'll add this. Or just having new ideas to go in there. So I'm adding to topics or adding to jokes that previously existed.
And sitting down writing, not just
I was
thinking about it.
Just thinking about it. I didn't actually write anything down today.
Do you do that too?
I do that as well.
Yeah.
It's hard. I find it very difficult. I find it much easier to write if I'm just kind of like walking and thinking about it.
Walking is the best way to be creative.
Yeah. Or trying to fall asleep. I find that that's the best way to think of.
For insomnia.
If I could rescue all of the jokes that I thought of right as I was falling asleep and didn't write down because I was falling asleep,
and
I would have a new hour that would be better than anything I've ever written.
You probably think, oh, that's funny. I'll remember that.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's so good. I'll remember it.
This is genius. There's no way I'll forget this.
And then you just rack your brain and you cannot.
Yeah, because your brain is still able to remember that you had something to remember, which is so cruel.
That's right.
But it doesn't
Why
remember,
do they remember
the
that
thing.
part?
It's like when you're talking and your brain will halt your speech to be like, there's a word for what you're trying to say. And then you're like, oh, great, what is it? I don't know, but I just wanted to stop you and let you know that it's out there. Do you have it? Nope. Think there's a P in there. Great. Thank you so much, brain. I was really on a roll here before you put a stop to it.
See, this is Ivan Decker. He's got a new chunk of material now.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Do people relate to that?
Well, sure. The idea that you can forget something, but you know that you forgot it. So why don't you forget that you even thought of something in the first place?
It's true. The ignorance would be nice. I would much rather.
Great. I look forward to hearing that in comedic style.
Sure, I'll try. I'll write it down.
Yeah, perfect. Well, you'll listen to this.
Yeah.
Okay, Ivan. So you got your Netflix special, March-ish, 2019. You're in L.A. You're paying for comedy.
Love it.
And you're going to be in Des Moines, Iowa. When is that?
February 21st to 23rd, I believe.
And the club?
The West Des Moines Funny Bone.
The Funny Bone. Great. All right. Well, there are the guitars.
So wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Anytime. And we got to go extra. We had a good 90 minutes with Ivan Decker.
Yeah, take that, Sam.
Close to it. All right. Next week, we have... Oh, who is it next week? Travis Bernhardt will be here next week.
Nice.
Very good magician and also a very funny improviser. 2 weeks from tonight, we have Barry Greenfeld back in town. Crazy Barry.
He's the best.
I believe November 4th, Brent Butt said he'd come. We'll see if that happens.
You can read him one of my jokes and see if he remembers it.
All right. All right, we're back here next week. Thanks, Ivan.